I'm sharing a very simple meal prep that I do, and that is cooked cabbage. This is just a regular, ordinary green cabbage that I've washed. And I do this because when I am ready to eat, that's not the time that I want to be preparing my food. In other words, I want the food waiting for me so that at my feeding time, I can simply pull it out and either reheat it or mixing them together in the salad that I do and massaging it all together, and it gets incorporated. And I let my food actually sit at room temperature for about 20 minutes or so, so I'm not ingesting anything cold, especially in the winter months. I don't like to eat cold food. So I like to cook a cabbage, a whole head of cabbage, and I just cook it very simply on the stove, low and slow, with some seasonings, very simple seasonings. And what I've been doing is I will have my base of romaine lettuce, which is the greens that I prefer. I will heat up about a cup of the cooked cabbage, and then when I'm ready to eat, I pour the heated cabbage on top of the romaine. And you've seen me make my salad, so I'm not going to assemble the salad because you can just refer to any of my salad making videos where I show the assembly of the salad. So it's all exactly the same, but in the winter when it's cold, I add heated vegetables, about a cup of heated vegetables on top, and it wilts the greens. So it's like a wilted warm salad. And then I'll just add the protein, whichever I choose for that day. So I wanted to share that little tip because that's how I enjoy getting my micronutrients and my abundance of plants. I don't skip salad in the winter. I just prepare it slightly differently to coincide with the changing temperature. So I'm going to get started just rough chopping this. Cabbage is one of those foods that is versatile, but it's probably my favorite vegetable. It's the one I consume the most, so apparently I love it if I'm consuming it so much. I like it in all its iterations, so therefore it must be my favorite, right? So this is just washed cabbage, and I rough chop it and throw it in a large 3-quart stock pot. So just finishing up, and it fills the pot. So if you're not used to cooking vegetables, you're going to probably think that's way too much, but I don't have any problem finishing this over the course of a week or so because it cooks way down. And in fact, sometimes I need to make another batch midweek. So not only do I not have trouble finishing it, but that's how many plants I get into my body. I make sure that I consume all my vegetables. Your mom was right. Eat your veggies, people. That's where the micronutrients are. I'm gonna add some cayenne pepper because I enjoy spicy food. It's just hereditary for me that I enjoy spicy food. I'm adding quite a bit because I like it hot. You can season this or anything to your preference, obviously, because you're the one that's eating it. So unless I'm coming over for dinner, season it to your preference. This is black pepper. And then normally I would cook this with an onion. I have to run out today and get onions because I'm all out. So I'm going to use some onion powder and garlic powder. I need to go grocery shopping, obviously, today and pick up some fresh things. So, grind some salt and season it well because that's the key to making the food taste good. I know I'm stating the obvious, but don't be afraid to season your food. I was actually afraid, and I've mentioned this before, but I was hesitant and reluctant to use salt for many years. I ended up with a sodium deficiency. So it's possible, it's very possible, if you avoid certain things. To make a long story short, I was avoiding salt to such a degree that I was not adding any additional salt to my food, but I was also avoiding sodium in foods. So my body ended up with a sodium deficiency and my health suffered quite a bit from that. So just a little lesson learned. We live and we learn, and that was a definite lesson for me. I mean, since then, I've totally reformed my diet, but besides that point, one of the major things I've changed, I salt my food and even my water, and I make sure to salt quite adequately at least, but sometimes even generously. Because it brings out the flavor, of course, in food. It makes the food taste good, but also I've noticed that my body is much more balanced because of the salt, because sodium needs to be in balance with potassium in the body. And so, not to get into a chemistry lesson, but long way to say that sodium is necessary in the diet. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I wouldn't avoid it altogether. That's just my 2 cents. So here is the cabbage, and I have also added to this some water because you're going to need some liquid. And alternatively, you can add bone broth to this, of course. I consume bone broth separately, so that's I get it in my body, but that would be not only flavorful addition, but also boost the nutrition of this if you want to incorporate it in your food. You can certainly do that. For me, for my purposes, I'm simply going to cook the cabbage and it's ready to go on the stove. I'm going to set the stove on medium and just leave it there for about 45 minutes. And I find that it not only tastes the best that way, but I enjoy the texture of it and it digests very well that way. So your preferences may vary, and I would encourage you, if you're just starting out with cooking your own food, experiment and see how you like to prepare your foods. Don't necessarily follow what I or anyone else does. If you're the one eating it, you have to make it suit your palate and your preference for the long term so that you can keep those healthy habits. If it's unpleasant or you have to choke something down, certainly you're not going to keep it in your repertoire. So this is how I maintain my healthy diet. Is I prepare the foods that I like to eat. I find what suits me, things that I can prepare, that I have access to, and this suits my life very well. My best advice to you would be what I'm always saying, is that don't necessarily eat what I eat, don't eat what anyone else eats, because chances are they are eating that way to suit and serve them. And we all inhabit different bodies with different needs, preferences, goals, tastes, all of these things. So I'm always telling you to be an independent thinker and exercise your critical thinking skills. You can look at people's lifestyles and take little nuggets from them, but at the end of the day, nothing's going to stick if it doesn't suit you. So know thyself and suit yourself. While my cabbage is cooking, this is just another side meal prep that I'm doing in the meantime, and just making a simple pan of today's vegetable is zucchini, and I just have 2 zucchinis sliced, tossed with olive oil, salt and pepper, cayenne, onion and garlic powder. Everyone has roasted vegetables probably in their life, so I don't need to elaborate, but this is another thing that I do. And likewise with the cabbage, when it's done roasting, I'll just put it in a glass airtight container in my fridge. I eat very, very simply, and that's by design, because the way I enjoy eating is having a routine that allows me to eat delicious foods, but also to stay on top of my diet in such a way that allows me to have the best performance. And I don't think you need to be an athlete to perform in life. We're all performing in our jobs, in our personal relationships, in our life. Life is a performance. So when I say performance, that's simply what I mean, is I want to be at my peak self, my optimized, fully functioning self, and diet is where I start, because you are what you eat, and it's true. So if the diet's not in check, that's the first place that people should look, in my opinion, to reform their diet or alter their diet, because the food we eat affects tremendously, not only the physical body, obviously, but the mind, the mental body, and the spiritual body even, I would say. So you need to make sure all of those are being fed, so to speak. You need to feed all of that. So if something is not feeling quite right, either in your physical body or in your emotional body, food is definitely a state changer. It changes the state of you, before you eat and after you eat. If you take notice of these things and if you're self-aware, you'll notice that your mood, your emotions, your mental state, your physical state, everything, your whole being, pre-food, post-feeding, it's different. So food is a state changer. Pay very close attention to that, and that's what I mean when I say to choose conscientiously your diet. You need to make sure that it's well-rounded, yes, and nutritionally sound, hopefully, but you also need to make sure that it's checking the boxes of your emotional well-being and that it's not affecting you mentally in a detrimental way. So this is my pan of roasted vegetables, and I'm going to put these in the oven at 400 degrees for about half an hour, 35 minutes. So that's my very simple meal prep. This is what I've been doing for the past several weeks since the temperature has dropped. I've been doing this so that I can still consume my large 8-cup salad that I have daily with my avocado and everything. Everything is the same. The only difference I make when it's cold is that I make sure that the vegetables I add are either gently roasted or steamed vegetables, and certainly stovetop cooked. And then I just reheat them and add them. Okay, just stirring my cabbage, and it's already cooked way down. You can see. This is coming along nicely. The aim here is to allow that cup or so of water, the liquid, to evaporate and cook away entirely. And that's what makes the texture of the cabbage and all the flavors from the spices that I added, that's what makes it taste really, really yummy. Being patient and letting this cook for long enough so that all that liquid disappears, basically. And if it gets too low, I cracked the lid, by the way. If it gets too low, what I do is I just intermittently add some water from my kettle. I can just add some liquid. If I keep an eye on it and see that it's drying up or it's needing some more liquid, I can add it accordingly. So the cabbage is all done, and when it cools down, I will store it in a glass container, keep it in my refrigerator so that I can take from it and add it to my salad. So that's that. And then I will retrieve my roasted vegetables. I will let this cool down. It smells really, really good. I can smell the olive oil and the spices, so it's gonna be really good. Again, I encourage you to find the foods that suit you and that will serve you the best, and eat those, and hopefully they are nutrient-dense foods. Good luck, and thank you for watching.